Welcome to aminacademy.com. Let us discuss about chemical reactions. Look at this figure. Here some chemicals are added together. It happens some chemical reactions. Here if you are firing the matchsticks, some chemical reaction is happened. You can notice that these are the evidence to make a chemical reaction. What is chemical reaction? A process in which one or more substances, reactants, are converted to one or more different substances, the products. That is, what you are adding before the chemical reaction is called substances, and the substance you are getting after chemical reaction is called products. Substances are either chemical elements or compounds. A chemical reaction rearranges the constituent atoms of the constant reactant to create different substances as product. Here, look at this chemical reaction versus physical reactions. Here, normally you are cutting a wood. That is, there is a physical changes happen. That means what? It's here the size is changed and strongness is reduced. Like in chemical reaction, that is mostly the fire created and fume gases is delivered. In physical changes, the nature of the substance, the particle of which it is composed, and the number of particles remain unchanged. In physical changes, before reaction, after reaction, there is no changes. That means actually it is a physical change, only the sizes and material, sometimes material color changes. In a chemical change, the properties of the new substance are different from the original. The particles are different and the number of particles can change. Here, the reaction and energy changes. The energy change in a chemical reaction is due to the difference in the amount of stored chemical energy between the products and the reactants. This stored chemical energy or heat content of the system is known as its enthalpy. The chemical reaction is the process by which one or more substances change into one or more new substances whose chemical and physical properties differ from those of the original substances. In any chemical reactions, the original substance, which can be elements or compounds, are known as reactants. The substances created are called products. Some evidence we can see when chemical reaction happen. It's not always easy to tell that a chemical change is happening, but there are some signs to look for. For example, certain signs indicates that wood burning in a campfire is undergoing a chemical change. Smoke rises from the wood and a hissing sound is made. Energy that lights up the composite campsite and warms the air around the fire is released. The surface of the wood changes color as the wood burns. Eventually, all that remains of the firewood is a gray, that is powder or ash. You can see another reaction, a copper reacting with nitric acid. Again, several clues suggest that a chemical reaction is taking place. The color of the solution changes from colorless to blue. The solution bubbles and fizzes as a gas forms. The copper seems to be used up as the reaction constituent. Sometimes the evidence for a chemical change is indirect. When you place a new battery in a flashlight, you don't see any changes in the battery. However, when you turn the flashlight on, electrical changes causes the filament in the bubble to heat up and emit light. This release of electrical energy is a clue that a chemical reaction is taken place in the battery. Although these signs suggest a change may be chemical, they do not prove that the change is chemical. Here, evidence of chemical changes in short form we can write. First one, release of energy as a heat, release of energy as light, production of sound, reduction or increase of temperature, absorption or release of electrical energy. Formation of new substances happen, the formation of a gas, formation of precipitants and insoluble solids, change in color, change in odor. These are some evidence that there is a chemical reaction happen. Now let us discuss further. Reactant. What is reactant? A substance that enters into and is altered in the course of chemical reaction. For example, H2 and O2 react together, forms a water molecule, that is H2 hydrogen gas and O2 oxygen gas are reactants in the reaction that forms a liquid water. That means notice that mass is converted into this equation. There are 4 atoms of hydrogen in both the reactant and product side of the equation and 2 atoms of oxygen. Look at here, 2H2 plus O2 gives 2H2O. Comparing here, H is 2 into 4 H atoms and O2 is 2 atoms, forms together 2 molecules of water molecule. That is total here also 4 hydrogen, 2 oxygen, here also 4 hydrogen, 2 oxygen atoms. Product. A chemical reaction occurs when the chemical bonds between atoms are formed or broken. That is, really chemical reaction happen means the bonding steps are changed in compounds and substances. The substances that go into the chemical reaction are called the reactant, and the substances produced at the end of the reaction are known as the product. Here further, chemical reaction versus physical changes. For proof of chemical change, you need a chemical analysis to show that at least one new substance forms. The properties of the new substance, such as density, melting point or boiling point, must differ from those of the original substances. That means we can understand there is a chemical reaction happen. Even when evidence suggests a chemical changes, you can't be sure immediately. Immediately you cannot understand there is a chemical reaction happen. For instance, when paint mix, the color of the resulting paint differs from the color of the original paints, but the change is physical. The substances making up the paints have not changed. When you boil water, your water absorbs energy and a gas forms, but the gas still consists of water molecules. Even the changes happen, that molecules are not changed. That means there is a physical change. So a new substance has not formed. While boiling the water, that steam produced, still the steam is also in water form. It's gaseous form, but molecules are water molecules. So a new substance has not formed. Even though they demonstrate some of the signs of chemical changes, all change of state, including evaporation, condensation, melting and freezing, are physical changes. Reactions and energy changes. Chemical reaction either release energy or absorb energy as they happen. A burning campfire and burning natural gas are example of reactions that release energy. Natural gas, which is mainly methane, undergoes the following reactions. Suppose methane plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. Notice this equation, that is methane plus oxygen gives carbon dioxide plus water plus energy. That is, here energy is released. It can be considered a product of the reactants. That is, here carbon dioxide, energy, water and energy is a product of the reaction. If the energy required is not too great, some other reactions that absorb energy will occur because they take energy from their surroundings. an example of the decomposition of dinitrogen tetroxide, that is, which occurs at room temperature. Dinitrogen tetroxide plus energy equal nitrogen dioxide. Here the energy is absorbed. Here reactant must come together. That means after a chemical reaction, reactants before chemical reaction, the reactants must come together to contact themselves and make a chemical reaction. You can't kick a soccer ball unless your shoe contact the ball. That means your shoe as well, the ball must contact together, then something energy is created and we are kicking the ball. Chemical reactions are similar like that. Molecules and atoms of the reactants must come into contact with each other for a reaction to take place. That means reactants what you are adding to make a chemical reaction, that their atoms and molecules should contact with each other, other reactant. Think about what happens when the safety match is lighted. One reactant, that is potassium chlorate KClO3, is on end of the match head. The other reactant, phosphorus, that is P4, is on the striking surface of the matchbox. The reactions begins when the two substances come together by rubbing the match head across the striking surface. If the reactants are kept apart, the reaction will not happen. That means we must scratch a matchstick with the box surface, then only reaction created. Under most conditions, safety matches do not ignite by themselves. Here, these are some evidences, some explanation about a chemical changes and physical changes, when it happened, what happened after chemical and physical reactions happen, we discussed. If you have done, please subscribe our YouTube channel.